Hello, I'm Dave Voglewede, FCSD's Wholesale Operations and Strategy Manager. Welcome to Wholesale Parts 101.
And I'm Dan Bielik, Wholesale Training and Communications Manager. For the next half hour or so, we're going to explore the world of wholesale part sales, recognizing that it's not an area you have a lot of experience with.
We wrote this course to help FCSD employees that are new to the parts backbone of our business to get on their feet a little faster. Because wholesale is so important to us and many of your dealers, as you'll see, it's over half of our division's parts sales. It's crucial that you understand this side of the business. You need to understand the basics of our profitable wholesale parts operation, the basic language, the customer types, the highest volume parts that we sell in the aftermarket, and be able to talk intelligently with your dealers who are involved in the wholesale parts business. Let's start with some of the basics as they relate to FCSD.
Ford Customer Service Division sells parts in 4 distinct channels: retail, wholesale, aftermarket, and special markets. First, retail sales are through your dealership's own repair shops, and except for the occasional do-it-yourselfer who buys parts over the counter, the rest is considered wholesale, such as when dealers sell to other dealers, or installers, or body shops, or even jobbers, which are essentially independent parts stores like Napa, those folks you see driving around in yellow delivery trucks. In a nutshell, except for the small and shrinking do-it-yourself market, any part that a dealer does not sell to its own shop is considered wholesale. The third channel is aftermarket, where FCSD sells parts through its Motorcraft warehouse distributors. Our fourth and final channel is special markets. They only sell a limited line of parts, such as oil and filters, mostly through retailers like Walmart and AutoZone. Since our dealers do not sell to this channel, we don't consider it wholesale.
At no time has the wholesale parts business been more critical for Ford Customer Service Division and for our dealers, who may be relying on their fixed operations for their survival. The opportunity is there. The annual retail parts market for mechanical parts alone is about $124 billion. That's staggering. Ford applications make up about 23% of that right now, and that's a little more than $28 billion. However, of the Ford application piece, your dealers sell just over $4 billion worth of parts, which sounds like a lot, but that's less than 20% of the opportunity. The competition, namely Napa, CarQuest for mechanical parts, and Keystone for collision, get the remaining 80% of the Ford wholesale pie. We find that unacceptable, and there's no reason for this anymore, as we'll go into here shortly. The wholesale parts business is also critical to our dealers. In fact, nearly 50% of our national parts volume today is in wholesale sales. Keep in mind that this growth opportunity applies to both Ford and Lincoln Mercury dealers. Some of our most successful wholesaling dealers are Lincoln Mercury. This chart shows how the dealer wholesale segments are broken down, with nearly half of the sales to installers. Incidentally, when we do refer to installers, so you know, we're referring to the 183,000 independent repair shops across the country. There's likely one on a street corner near you. Counter retail, body shop sale, and sales to other dealers are the other large categories.
In this program, we will look closely at Ford's wholesale parts business, not from an academic point of view, but from an in-the-trenches perspective, in the trenches with you, the Parts and Service Zone Manager. We realize that wholesale parts sales are not your primary responsibility. However, with wholesale being such a dominant part of FCSD's business, it is critical that you understand this end of our business, and that you're able to talk with dealers about the basics of such an important part of their business. If wholesale parts sales are relevant to your dealer's business model, it needs to be important to you, whether or not it is a special line item on your performance review.
First, a few basics on our big picture parts sales strategy. All of our genuine Ford parts, which are also called blue box parts, ship out of our own parts distribution centers directly to your dealers. So all blue box parts are housed in our PDCs and are shipped directly to the dealers. FCSD is allocated from production purchasing up to 10% of a vehicle's production parts, just so that we can service the vehicles that we build. However, only a few motorcraft parts are used to build a vehicle, so many of them are shipped directly from the supplier and never see our parts distribution center. They're shipped in bulk, higher quantities, and very often save us a lot of money as a division. It's more profitable for us, and it allows us to pass along a lower price to the dealers, making them more competitive in the aftermarket. So those supplier direct ship parts are called, you'll hear your parts manager refer to them as SDS parts. These motorcraft parts are shipped directly to FADs, or Ford Authorized Distributors, who then sell them to both the aftermarket and to Ford and Lincoln Mercury dealerships. All Ford and Lincoln Mercury dealerships sell at least some parts to the aftermarket. So in other words, every dealer in the nation is in the wholesale business to some extent or another. And they also very often sell to other dealerships. We call the dealer-to-dealer sales D2D, simply D2D. We don't really care about growing the D2D wholesale business, except that it's good for the buying dealer to use another dealer's inventory sometimes when absolutely necessary in order to get a customer's vehicle out of their own shop. But we do want to help them grow their sales to the installers and fleets that are in their own backyard that have been neglected for years. There are 5 different kinds of Ford authorized distributors, or again, FADs, which are all independently owned, and they stock motorcraft parts as well as competitive make parts. That's an important point there. They can opt to sell motorcraft or a competitive part. First, warehouse distributors, or WDs. They stock general parts, batteries, brakes, filters, and so on. We have over 200 WDs. They are critical to their dealer clientele's fix today's vehicle today strategy. So they are contracted, part of the agreement, to stock the fastest moving motorcraft parts, 60-day supply, periodic deliveries, and so on. Second, within the FAD environment, there are 50 powertrain distributors, slightly over 50 powertrain distributors that primarily stock engines and transmissions. Third, there are nearly 100 distributors that stock oil and automatic transmission fluid. They basically sell that item in bulk to dealers. Next, there are a dozen locations that specialize in batteries. And finally, we have over 70 distributors that have a main business model that focuses on accessories. So when we're referring to FADs, the wholesale parts to installers or fleets, we're almost always referring to the first 2 categories I mentioned, which is the WDs and the powertrain distributors. Our dealers get parts in 3 ways. First, through parts distribution centers, and through FADs, or from another dealer, as I mentioned, when they're in a pinch. Ford Parts Distribution Centers deliver mechanical parts the next day. That's their standard. And collision parts are delivered in 2 days. That will come up if you're talking with a dealer that's in the collision wholesale business. They do not get the parts the next days. It will save the division a lot of cost by shipping every second day. And in most cases, the vast majority, a customer who wrecks their car doesn't expect the vehicle to be repaired in the same day anyway. But dealers who wholesale parts and warehouse distributors will often make multiple deliveries in the same day, is the point here. Incidentally, we have more than 30 dealers who specialize in dealer-to-dealer sales, and they are designated as MRDs, or major redistributing dealers. They have extra standards that they're required to live up to. They have to have 17,500 part numbers in stock 365 days a year. And as mentioned, though, we don't put a lot of emphasis on the D2D business because our major growth opportunity is in conquest and new installers and fleet customers. And we can't afford, don't ever forget, to lose a single body shop to the competition as well. We sell 3 brands of Ford parts. Genuine Ford parts, OE parts, or they're often called blue box parts because they come in a white or a blue and white box. Second is the Motorcraft, or often referred to as red box parts. And we also sell Blue Diamond parts, which supports our heavy truck venture with Navistar. Today we're only going to focus on the blue box, the genuine OE parts, and the Motorcraft red box parts. Blue box parts, what's the difference between blue box and red box? Blue box parts are original equipment, or OE. Generally, they come right from the same plant that manufactured the vehicle itself. And they're sold only through dealers, 100% through dealers, and there's almost a little over 200,000 part numbers. They include all mechanical parts that have very little competition in the aftermarket, plus all collision parts. So all collision parts are blue box. Motorcraft parts, on the other hand, are either OE components put in the red box to allow FADs to sell them, or they're built using OE or near OE specs. They may not be the exact parts that came right out of the plant, but they are built to OE or near OE specifications. So they're extremely high quality, the highest quality in their class in 100% of the cases that we're aware of, and we've studied a lot of comparative products. Motorcraft parts include about 20,000 part numbers, and they're highly competitive parts in most cases, which means that they have a lot of competition for their applications in the marketplace. For wholesale sales, parts can be divided into three categories. General and small mechanical is the first. The second is powertrain, which are engines and transmissions, assemblies, and the components. And incidentally, it's about a 50-50 mix in revenue between the component sales and the assembly sales. And the third is collision parts. These categories and our marketing efforts match the same three installer and fleet repair shop categories that Dan took you through.
Let's look at each segment. General, small mechanical parts tend to be components sold within 3 to 4 miles of the dealership, or up to 10 miles for large fleet customers. The customers mostly make small purchases, averaging $60 or less per sale, and they expect hotshot or on-demand delivery. When they need a part, they expect service in 45 minutes or less. Because of the wide variety of vehicles they service, installers keep a minimal inventory and will give their business to suppliers that deliver their parts the fastest, call or visit them occasionally, and are competitively priced. Mechanical parts represent the largest potential for growth for Ford because there are nearly 200,000 independent repair shops across the country that buy parts from dealers and from FADs. They like using Ford and Motorcraft parts because these parts result in fewer expensive comebacks due to their high quality. Fleets also represent a major opportunity for growth. They understand the value of using Ford-approved parts because it helps them avoid expensive downtime. The priority for these customers is getting the vehicle back on the road, generating revenue as quickly as possible. However, competition from the likes of Napa, CarQuest, and Pep Boys is very intense. Good news is that many dealers are making impressive and profitable inroads here. Powertrain parts are remanufactured engines, transmissions, and components. FCSD's sales mix on these parts is roughly split 50-50 between assemblies and separate components. Customers are usually within a base of 20 to 50 miles and tend to be fleets and major installers who generally use scheduled deliveries. These sales represent a large opportunity for you and your dealers to achieve your zone's parts sales targets. Jasper is an example of one major competitor in this important line. Now let's take a look at a Ford dealer that does a very good job in the powertrain side of the business.
O'Meara Ford is a major supplier of engines and transmissions for fleets and installers throughout the Rocky Mountain area. The powertrain units are quite profitable themselves, but the dealership adds to the bottom line by looking for additional opportunities to sell.
Selling extra components is a big part of that sale because you can sell water pumps, wires, plugs. We keep track and we can average on an engine somewhere around $250 to $275 additional sales on each engine we sell.
Ken Ahrensmeyer closely monitors the sale of engines, transmissions, and all wholesale parts. He is constantly talking with his salespeople, checking on their progress, helping with problems, and looking for additional opportunities. He says it's important to share sales information with the staff, and he uses a visual daily reminder.
The way we track our performance is every day we take the total sales for the previous day, we post it on a board back there, and we have what we call a report by employee, and every employee knows how much he sold for the month, and it gives us a total at the bottom, how much we've sold for the whole month. We want all our salesmen to know what they've sold and how much we're selling by the end of the month.
An important reason for O'Meara's wholesale success, especially with powertrain, is the outside salesperson who calls on customers throughout Colorado and even into Wyoming. He calls on new customers and maintains contact with existing accounts to develop additional business. Every morning, he and Ahrensmeyer review the previous day and then go over the schedule of contacts for that day and talk about new customers. Face-to-face contact with fleets and installers is crucial, says Ahrensmeyer, but not just anybody is cut out to be an outside salesperson.
He needs to be an outgoing person. He needs to be a person that understands a lot about the car business so he can go in and intelligently talk to customers. He needs to know when he goes into a business, if the customer is busy, he needs to be able to get out and make another appointment. And we require a lot of times that he makes an appointment, first of all, before he goes into the store.
How much of a contribution does outside sales make to O'Meara's wholesale business? Ahrensmeyer says the dealership is now looking for a second outside salesperson. I'm Cam Carmen.
Collision, or crash parts, are sold to a mix of small and large body shop customers in a wide area, 50 to 300 miles. These customers also generally use scheduled daily deliveries. These parts are the bread and butter of many wholesaling dealers and are also very profitable when properly managed. Unfortunately, growth to most dealers means stealing a body shop customer from another dealer instead of conquesting sales from a competitor, such as Keystone. We need to help them change that mindset. Insurance companies play a major role in deciding which brand of parts a body shop can use. FCSD has a number of initiatives geared towards making our parts more competitive and more attractive to the insurance companies. Let's take a look at an example of a Ford dealer that does a very good job in the collision business.
Towsley Ford in White Bear Lake, Minnesota has its body shop customers fax them the complete collision estimate so they have a chance at fulfilling the entire order. Not just on those parts the body shop thinks the dealership will be competitive.
Most body shops feel that Ford cannot compete. They've been trained over years and years that the Ford parts are more expensive than the aftermarkets, which simply isn't that true anymore.
With some of the lower acquisitions and DOI program where we're paying 20% less on considerable amount of parts, it has opened it up to an opportunity where we, knowing the lowest acquisition cost, we can compete fairly well. And in most cases, 60% of the time right now, we're beating the aftermarket.
Salespeople have access to not just the list price on a part, but also what the dealership actually paid for the part, including discount on invoice and other incentives. That flexibility encourages aggressive pricing, as does the Towsley Pay Plan.
Well over 50% of their pay is commission. Therefore, I empower them to change prices. It creates, they're not going to sell it at a loss. They know that they make their money on profit, and so they're going to use their head and price it correctly, where we still make profit based on volume. Now, our percentages are lower, yes, but we're turning a lot more parts.
There are few places that will provide a deeper discount than Towsley Ford. If a guy orders a hood and a bumper and a fender, we're making enough on a hood and a fender to be able to really cut the bumper down to compete with the aftermarket.
One of Towsley's top collision accounts is Master Collision Group, which operates several body shops in the Twin Cities area. Managing partner Dennis Keneally says he prefers using a Ford part because of better fit and finish than the aftermarket, and that he's willing to pay a little bit more for that quality. Price is important to Keneally, but so is timing.
Cycle time in our business that's a catchphrase. It's a time that we have allowed by an insurance carrier to repair the car. And if we miss it, there's a financial penalty to it. So the cycle time is our term of measurement that's put upon us by the provider of work to us.
I will pull warehouse employees off at the drop of a hat to get a part out. It seems Friday afternoons, getting a car done and delivered at a body shop is always a situation. And if I have to drop what I'm doing and deliver a part, I will. It builds the confidence in us. It builds the relationship with the customer.
Towsley's success in wholesale collision part sales boils down to three factors. First, overcoming the customer perception that its prices aren't competitive. Second, an extremely aggressive pricing policy. And finally, a whatever-it-takes attitude on delivery and serving the needs of its customers. I'm Cam Carmen.
Bottom line, the wholesale market offers tremendous opportunity for Ford, your dealers, and you. Not just because it's so big and profitable, but because the company hasn't even begun to reach its potential with wholesale customers. We turned our back on it for whatever reason several decades ago and have made great inroads in the past 5 years to get that business back. This chart shows where installers preferred buy their parts. Independent parts stores, or jobbers, rank first by a large margin, with car dealers well down on the list. When we look at where they actually buy those parts, car dealers move up from 4th place to 2nd, but mainly thanks to the universe of parts that are considered captive, with little or no competition because of the high cost of tooling up. But we've always had the captive business, and it's really no growth opportunity for us or our dealers. A lot of factors influence the installer's purchase decision. Performance and fit are the most important, which is a big plus for Ford and Motorcraft. Availability, quality, and competitive pricing are also very important. That's why it's critical for your dealers to get this story out to their prospects in their own backyards. As for the wholesale market, all dealers are in the wholesale business to some extent, if only because of the captive parts we mentioned. But some savvy dealers tend to dominate their chosen segments. A recent analysis of Ford and Lincoln Mercury dealerships found that more than 300 dealerships had annual sales exceeding $2 million, and wholesale sales that were 50% or more over their total parts sales. An important thing to remember when you're talking to your parts managers and their salespeople is that it's all about making more money and making more sales commissions. That is really the only way to get their attention and respect. There's nothing idealistic about it. It's about taking money out of their competitors' pockets and putting it into theirs.
Here's a look at the wholesale parts orientation of Ford and Lincoln Mercury dealers. Of a total of about 4,000 dealers, more than 600 are certified parts wholesaling dealers, or we also refer to them as CPWDs. You could compare these dealers, for example, to students who have gone to a parts sales operations college and earned their bachelor's degree, their basic bachelor's degree, to become a CPWD. And more on those dealers in a moment. Then there are the graduate students, if you will, who have specialized in a particular wholesale segment and earned their master's degree in one or more of the 3 part sales segments we mentioned a moment ago: collision, dealer to dealer, or mechanical. And then again, within mechanical, you have a major subcomponent, which is powertrain. However, just as an aside, it's a very rare occurrence when a dealer is specializing in all 3 segments. Most will specialize in 1, maybe 2. I've yet to see any of them that have specialized and done a good job in all 3. And almost all 600 dealers are in an elite group that we call the Crash Parts Professionals dealers. These are CPWDs who chose to focus on the collision parts opportunity and meet some additional standards. So once they've met those standards, such as they have to enroll in DPAS and purchase at least $15,000 in collision truckload parts over 11 months and so on, that is, and there's more information on the Crash Parts Professional website on FMC Dealer, that is the equivalent of a master's degree. They first have to be a CPWD, then they can go on and become a Crash Parts Professional dealer if they so choose. We also have a specialty program to support dealers who choose to aggressively pursue the impressive powertrain parts growth opportunity. There are about 120 powertrain distributing dealers, or PTDs, and they must continually stock a minimum of 30 Ford or Motorcraft remanufactured engines or transmission assemblies. That's the master's degree in the powertrain area. First, again, they have to be a CPWD, certified wholesaling dealer, and then if they want to focus on powertrain, they can become a PTD if they meet that standard I just mentioned. There are a tremendous number of specialized tools and training to help the powertrain distributing dealers conquest new business. Finally, for dealers that choose to specialize in selling parts to other dealerships, and generally that's your largest dealers out there in the nation, There's the Major Redistributing Dealer Program, or MRD program. There are over 30 dealers that choose to serve as our mini depots, mini parts depots for FCSD, and they're eligible, just so you're aware, for an 8% wholesale incentive on selected dealer-to-dealer mechanical parts in an effort to support other dealers' goals to fix today's vehicles today in their own repair shops. And incidentally, MRDs are a joint decision between a dealer and your sales and marketing manager. To be in any of these specialties, you must first, as I mentioned, be a certified parts wholesaling dealer, and I told you I'd come back to this. This strategy allows us as a division to focus our resources on dealers who really make a commitment to growing their wholesale parts business. CPWDs must meet 100% of the required process standards in sales and service support, parts availability and delivery, hours of operation, there's a customer satisfaction survey, inventory management standard, and business and marketing planning. In other words, they have to submit a business plan once a year that's approved by you, their zone manager. Dealers enroll in the CPWD program every 2 years, and it's on FMC Dealer. You, as their parts and service zone manager, must personally approve their enrollment by validating that they've met 100% of the CPWD standards. Also, you must work with them to develop their annual wholesale business growth plan and then approve it for them before you approve them as a CPWD. That's really all there is to it. It's also important to emphasize that CPWDs really should have at least a part-time outside salesperson to maintain face-to-face contact with their wholesale customers and prospective wholesale customers, and not just the body shop customers as often they're inclined to do. Get them out talking up the business with the installers and the fleets within their own 3 to 5 mile backyard that Dan mentioned a minute ago. So what does a CPWD get for meeting all of these standards? Well, they get a lot. In fact, we have the best OEM wholesale program of any of the OEMs by far in the industry. We have about $2 million worth of FCSD support tools at the CPWD website on FMC Dealer that the non-CPWDs just cannot access. It's only for the certified wholesaling guys. In addition to collision pricing incentives, certified dealers get prospecting tools, technical information resource tools that they can give out to their wholesale accounts. Each subscription, each certified dealer gets 30 subscriptions for the TRC, Technical Resource Center, and they're worth $2,500 a piece, and again, they can give out 30 of them. They have access to training materials, marketing sales support like you wouldn't believe with Ad Creator and so on. Profitability tools, as Dan mentioned, it's all about making money. And they're also, again, eligible for their parts managers and salespeople to participate in seasonal sales incentive programs that we come out with every year. As a parts and service zone manager, wholesale sales may not be your direct responsibility, as Dan mentioned, but increasing your dealer's parts purchases and helping dealership profitability, no question, is one of your responsibilities. And because the wholesale channel makes up, again, more than 50% of the division's parts volume, it's likely that at least some of your assigned dealerships have a strong desire to improve their wholesale marketing. Once again, if it's important to your dealer's health, it should be important to you, and one of the elements you cover when you make your regular contacts. Healthy wholesale dealers typically have larger parts inventories too, which also benefits their own repair shop, which makes their service manager happy as well. Also, parts are usually a dealer's second largest investment asset, as you know, second only to their used car inventory. Bottom line, it's important for you to be knowledgeable about this profitable and sales-generating end of the business. Just as Retail Central is the resource Bible on the retail side, Wholesale Central is the most comprehensive guide to all FCSD wholesale support programs. It's written specifically for FCSD zone managers and wholesale zone managers, and it's also available, by the way, for dealers to download through the CPWD website. Although, to be honest, few take the time and initiative and usually rely on your doing it for them to be up to speed on all of the initiatives that are going on out there. It's organized, Wholesale Central is organized with tabs for selling tools, incentives, advertising, business planning, and product commodity team support initiatives, such as new products and point-of-sale materials, pricing initiatives, things like that are in the PCT segment. Very valuable information for your parts managers. Each page has a thorough review of a program with key dates, target audience, an overview of the details, and contacts and other resources as well if you have more questions about it. Everything about Wholesale Central is designed to help you help your dealers make more money, as Dan mentioned, in the wholesale business. Be sure to review Wholesale Central each quarter to stay informed on FCSD wholesale programs so that you can talk confidently with your wholesale-oriented dealerships to help you both achieve your mutual objectives. Just a couple of takeaways here. If you can just remember these few things. One, remember the 3 wholesale customer types. You've got collision, dealer-to-dealer, and mechanical. And within mechanical, the big subcategory is the powertrain. Second, encourage your dealers to use the tools and incentives. As I mentioned, the division has a major investment in these tools and incentives, and they're there to be used. The third thing is there are plenty of resources to help you. And contact, for example, your wholesale zone manager or contact us. But whatever it takes, let's work together to help your dealers grow their wholesale business. Next, be aware we're very price competitive. We've taken a lot of pricing initiatives in the last couple of years to position ourselves against the aftermarket competition. And with wins, very often we can beat the competition. In most cases, we can beat the competition if they really calculate their lowest acquisition cost properly. And then lastly, the strategy for the division is to own your own backyard. Have your dealers own the 3 to 5 mile, or if they go out to powertrain, go out further, but own their own backyard. Dan.
Thank you, Dave. We will cover a lot of the wholesale support tools available to dealers in an advanced program. But for now, let's recap a few of the initiatives available to dealers. First, as Dave mentioned, is WINS, or Wholesale Incentives, which is available to all dealers, not just CPWD. Every dealer in the country can take advantage of this program. It is paid on qualifying sales to installers, fleets, and governments. This is the largest incentive program our division pays out. There are also some shorter-term incentives. FCSD generally runs a year-long program that rewards dealers who improve their wholesale part sales as measured through the eReact reporting system. We provide these dealers funds to help them grow their business. They can use the funds to invest in new equipment or marketing programs or conduct incentive programs for their own wholesale employees. For the past several years, we have also mailed out several 100,000 offers directly to customers on behalf of our CPWDs, or Certified Parts Wholesaling Dealers. These have included discount coupons as well as grand prize drawings. These have generated significant additional traffic for your wholesaling dealerships. We will continue to use these very successful programs.
So what do you need to cover with your wholesaling dealers? Of course, in some cases, wholesaling dealers have a wholesale zone manager already who's charged with the wholesale side of the business. You need to find out which of your dealers that they are calling on. However, there are less than 24 of the parts wholesale zone managers around the country. And since every dealer wholesales parts in some way, you need to stay involved in the wholesale business. Reviewing Wholesale Central, for example, each quarter is a great start. Make sure the dealership knows about all of the relevant programs and is taking advantage of advertising, new products, the incentives, product support, and the like. The programs are there to be used.
It's important to ensure your dealers are maintaining their agreed standards as certified parts wholesaling dealers, both in terms of process and ensuring that wholesale sales represent 30% of business and parts volume. There are a lot of special benefits for being certified, as Dave mentioned. You should help remind them to take advantage of these. For example, Demand Star is a web tool that allows dealers to get on the bid list of numerous governments and fleets who buy vehicle parts in large quantities. Ford Customer Service Division pays for the cost of this very valuable service for CPWD dealers who enroll for it via DPES and get it for free. The Technical Resource Center, or TRC, is another free tool that we give our dealers, and it's worth a lot of money and it's very valuable. It's a very useful tool, giving installers and large fleet customers of your wholesale dealerships access to Ford's own advanced technical repair and online training resources. It's a highly competitive advantage no aftermarket competitor in the industry can offer. The newly enhanced CPWD website also offers a wide variety of growth support tools for for your wholesaling dealers. This site is accessible through fmcdealer.com and offers a comprehensive package of prospecting and growth tools for CPWDs who are enrolled in the program.
Consumer Track allows dealerships to create and produce effective consumer mailers for wholesale customers, just as Ad Creator, the professional ad creator, makes it easy to produce customer advertising for the dealership. The Prospect Manager is a potent tool that provides contact information for over 600,000 installers, fleets, and body shops with current addresses and phone numbers, along with the type of repair business that they're in, the number of technicians they have, the bays they have, the owner's name, and even their most recent credit score. It's been recently overhauled and now includes over 600,000 prospective wholesale customers, as I mentioned, and do suggest that your CPWDs leverage these prospecting lists and combine it with an Ad Creator ad or a Consumer Track mailer in their own business growth plan. And they will have a good start at a very effective growth strategy for owning their own backyard. Another important lead generating resource is the National Powertrain Call Center, a source of new customers for powertrain dealers. It provides a single number for customers to call for information on genuine Ford and Motorcraft powertrain products. It's staffed by trained powertrain product experts who answer questions and then direct prospective customers to enrolled dealerships. Other web resources that you have at your disposal include the Collision Parts Truckload Ordering website. This allows dealerships to order collision parts in quantities for very significant savings. By the way, smaller dealers may also pool a truckload together to achieve volume discounts equal to the larger dealers. If you haven't seen how this impressive tool works, be sure to check it out.
And there's a wealth of wholesale data available to you in the Management Reporting System, or MRS. To access it, log on to the My FCSD Sales homepage and then click on the MRS tab. Here are just 6 different wholesale-related reports in MRS, though there are more. These reports will break down part sales in a number of different categories. You can compare how a dealer is doing compared to his zone or hub. There are year-to-date comparisons so you can analyze trends and growth.
That's a good point. What gets measured gets done. In any discussion of parts, the advantages of Ford and Motorcraft are obvious: the quality and availability. With Dealer Parts Advantage, your dealers receive shipments, as I mentioned, daily and on collision parts on a second-day basis. We designed the parts in the first place, and we test them to highly proprietary specifications. The aftermarket would love to get their hands on those specs. They can't. Nobody can make a part better than us, and it reduces comebacks for installers and avoids downtime for the fleet, and that's very, very significant, a very compelling story when you go out talking to these customers. Installers and fleets, they want the OE quality part designed specifically for Ford, Lincoln, and Mercury vehicles. Again, comebacks and downtime cost real money. However, there's sometimes a perception that dealer-sourced parts are not priced competitively, like we mentioned a few minutes ago. Until the last couple of years, that was not necessarily untrue. But many of our dealers have not yet woken up to our recent substantial price reductions or the wins incentives that we've put on these highly competitive parts. The key for you and your wholesaling dealers is to understand how to calculate their lowest acquisition cost, or LAC. There are now several discounts available that will make their price competitive with almost anyone in the aftermarket if they wholesale the part. Here's just one example. The DG508 is a very popular ignition coil. The dealer price, dealer net, is $41.66. But if the dealer makes it part of their daily order through their normal stock ordering process, there's another 1% daily order discount that they're eligible for, which is 42 cents. And then there's the inventory management allowance of up to 5% if they're keeping their inventory clean and fulfillment rate high, as most dealers are. So the dealer net price now is $39.18. But there are more incentives. The WINS, or wholesale incentives we've been talking about, provide significant discounts for selling to qualified mechanical parts wholesale customers. In this case, a dealer can claim $12.65 if they sell this part to an installer or qualified fleet. That's an impressive incentive. Then PIP, or the Parts Inventory Protection Program, provides another 2% or 83 cents. And then finally, dealers also get a 3% 45-day return allowance. In this case, that's about $1.25. So the lowest acquisition cost, the investment that Ford has put into allowing a dealer to competitively wholesale his price, is now $24.45. That's better than a 40% discount over the original dealer price. And since our parts prices have already become highly competitive in recent years, that lets the dealer be extremely competitive in the market. A lot of them just haven't taken the time to calculate the LAC, and very often they're surprised how competitive they are. This concept is something the dealer needs to understand, and it's important for you to be able to explain it to any dealers so that they understand just how competitive they are nowadays. Dan.
We've given you a lot of information on this program, and we want to emphasize that there is a lot of support tools available for your wholesaling dealers and for you as well. Wholesale Central, as Dave mentioned, is your best reference for current wholesale program details, and it also provides contact information for each FCSD business owner affiliated with that program. That should be your first source of information when you have any wholesale questions. You should also introduce yourself to your region's wholesale zone manager. They will have many ideas for a divide and conquer strategy to ensure better coverage for all of your region's top wholesaling dealers. For your convenience, this program is part of our online library of reference videos and can be viewed anytime on the FCSD sales homepage under Field Operations on Demand. If you have any questions, please feel free to contact Dave or me at these email addresses.
The wholesale parts side of the business has a huge potential upside. We hope we've demonstrated that here because it spells opportunity for you and your dealerships, which is all about why we choose to be in this highly competitive but exhilarating business. Thanks for watching and good selling.